Why do so many people chase pleasure, only to find themselves feeling emptier than before? Why does the relentless pursuit of happiness often lead to misery? At first glance, pleasure seems like an obvious goal. After all, isn't life about maximizing joy and minimizing pain? But history, philosophy, and psychology all suggest that the pursuit of pleasure, when taken to an extreme, often leads to suffering. This is the paradox of pleasure. The more we chase it, the less satisfied we become. Philosophers and thinkers across centuries have warned against this. Epicurus, often misunderstood as a hedonist, actually believed that true happiness comes from moderation and the avoidance of excessive desires. Schopenhauer, a philosopher of pessimism, argued that our endless striving for pleasure only fuels suffering, as every satisfied desire is quickly replaced by a new one. Even modern behavioral scientists have found that the brain's reward system can be easily hijacked, leading to addiction, dissatisfaction, and even depression. We'll explore how the pursuit of pleasure can backfire, leaving us trapped in cycles of craving and discontent. By understanding this paradox, we can rethink what truly brings fulfillment and meaning to our lives. At the core of our pursuit of pleasure is a powerful chemical, dopamine. This neurotransmitter plays a key role in our brain's reward system, motivating us to seek out experiences that feel good, whether it's food, social approval, or entertainment. While this system is essential for survival, helping us find food, form relationships, and achieve goals, it can also be easily hijacked, leading to cycles of addiction, dissatisfaction, and even suffering. When we experience something pleasurable, like eating a delicious meal, getting a like on social media, or making a purchase, our brain releases a surge of dopamine. This feels rewarding and reinforces the behavior, making us want to do it again. However, the problem is hedonic adaptation. Over time, the same amount of pleasure is no longer enough. The brain reduces its dopamine response, and we need even more stimulation to achieve the same high. This is why people escalate their consumption, whether it's binge-watching, overeating, or endlessly scrolling social media. Today's world is engineered to exploit our dopamine system, keeping us trapped in a cycle of craving and temporary satisfaction. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok are designed to provide rapid bursts of dopamine through likes, comments, and endless scrolling. This creates an addiction where real-life interactions feel dull in comparison. Fast food and processed snacks. These foods are engineered to hit our pleasure centers instantly, making whole, natural foods seem less appealing. The result? Overeating without real satisfaction. Consumer culture. Advertisers and companies play on our desires, making us believe that the next purchase, a new phone, new clothes, or luxury items, will finally make us happy. Yet the thrill of shopping fades quickly, leading to a constant cycle of wanting more. The more we chase quick, artificial sources of pleasure, the less joy we actually experience. Real fulfillment, deep relationships, meaningful work, and long-term goals requires patience and effort, not just instant gratification. But because these things don't provide immediate dopamine hits, they often get neglected in favor of short-lived pleasures. Understanding this dopamine trap is the first step to breaking free. Instead of endlessly chasing fleeting highs, we can learn to seek sustainable forms of happiness, ones that don't leave us feeling emptier in the long run. Imagine running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you go, you never actually get anywhere. This is a perfect analogy for how humans experience pleasure and happiness, a concept known as the hedonic treadmill. What is the hedonic treadmill? The hedonic treadmill describes our tendency to quickly adapt to positive or negative changes in life and return to a baseline level of happiness. No matter how much pleasure we experience, whether it's through wealth, success, or thrilling experiences, the feeling eventually fades, and we seek more to regain that same level of satisfaction. At first, a new luxury car, a job promotion, or a dream vacation brings excitement. But after a short time, our brain normalizes these experiences, making them feel ordinary. This is why people who constantly chase pleasure never seem to reach lasting happiness. They are always looking for the next big thing, yet never truly satisfied. Wealth and success. Studies show that even people who win the lottery return to their previous level of happiness within a year. Similarly, millionaires and billionaires often feel the same dissatisfaction as middle-class individuals, despite their immense wealth. As income increases, desires and expectations increase as well, making it impossible to reach a point of enough. Thrill seekers and extreme experiences. Someone who once found excitement in small adventures, like traveling to a new city, may eventually crave more intense experiences, skydiving, extreme sports, or dangerous activities. The baseline for excitement rises, making normal experiences feel dull. Consumerism and materialism. Buying new clothes, gadgets, or cars provides a temporary high, but soon, the excitement wears off. What was once a luxury quickly becomes the norm, and the cycle of wanting more begins again. Social media and entertainment. At first, checking social media a few times a day feels fun. But soon, people find themselves scrolling endlessly, needing more engagement, likes, comments, followers, to feel the same rush. The same applies to entertainment. TV shows and video games keep raising the stakes to keep people hooked. The problem with the hedonic treadmill is that pleasure always comes with diminishing returns. The more we rely on external pleasures to feel happy, the less fulfilling they become. This is why people who focus purely on pleasure often experience boredom, emptiness, and even depression. Their baseline for enjoyment keeps rising, making it harder to feel satisfied with normal life. True contentment isn't found by running faster on the treadmill. It's found by stepping off entirely. By shifting our focus from temporary pleasure to deeper sources of meaning, relationships, personal growth, and purpose, we can escape the cycle of endless craving and find a more sustainable form of happiness. The pursuit of pleasure isn't inherently bad, but when it becomes the primary goal of life, it often leads to unintended consequences. Instead of long-term fulfillment, excessive pleasure-seeking can result in mental, physical, and social harm. The irony is that what starts as an attempt to feel good often ends in suffering. In the short term, pleasure can provide relief from stress and discomfort. However, when it becomes the dominant focus, it often disrupts emotional balance, leading to feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction. The constant chase for pleasure creates a state of dopamine dependence, where the brain struggles to find joy in simple things. Over time, this can contribute to restlessness, mood swings, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction with life. Studies show that excessive social media use, substance abuse, and compulsive behaviors are linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and emotional instability. Addiction and emotional numbness. When the brain gets accustomed to high levels of stimulation, it starts craving more, whether through entertainment, substances, or thrill-seeking behaviors. This can lead to compulsive habits and an inability to enjoy life's smaller, more meaningful moments. Lack of fulfillment. Pleasure is fleeting, while meaning and purpose bring lasting satisfaction. Those who chase instant gratification often find themselves feeling unfulfilled as they never invest in the deeper aspects of life. Personal growth, relationships, and purpose-driven work. Physical consequences. Overindulgence and unhealthy behaviors. Obesity and poor health. The modern food industry is designed to exploit our cravings. Processed foods are engineered to be hyper-palatable, leading to overeating, weight gain, and metabolic diseases. Many people find themselves eating not out of hunger, but out of habit and addiction. Substance abuse. Alcohol, drugs, and nicotine are all designed to provide quick pleasure, but at the cost of long-term health. Over time, people need higher doses to experience the same effect, damaging the body and brain in the process. Burnout and fatigue. The pursuit of pleasure often comes at the expense of discipline and balance. Those who indulge in constant entertainment, partying, or instant gratification frequently experience chronic fatigue, poor sleep, and a lack of motivation. Social consequences. Strained relationships and lack of deep connection. Superficial relationships. When pleasure is the priority, deep, meaningful connections take a back seat. People may choose short-term fun over long-term bonds, leading to shallow friendships and unstable romantic relationships. Decreased self-discipline. Self-control is essential for achieving meaningful goals. However, the habit of always seeking quick rewards weakens discipline, making it harder to focus on long-term success. This affects career growth, personal development, and overall life satisfaction. Loneliness and isolation. Many of the most pleasurable activities today, video games, social media, pornography, offer virtual gratification without real-world connection. Over time, people who overindulge in these habits may feel socially disconnected, leading to loneliness and a lack of true human intimacy. At its core, excessive pleasure-seeking dulls our ability to appreciate life. When we constantly chase high-intensity experiences, everyday joys, like a simple conversation, a walk in nature, or reading a book, start to feel boring. This is why so many people today feel restless and unsatisfied, even when they have access to more entertainment and comfort than ever before. The key to avoiding these consequences isn't to eliminate pleasure entirely, but to balance it with meaning, self-discipline, and deeper fulfillment. Throughout history, some of the greatest thinkers have warned against the dangers of excessive pleasure-seeking. Ancient Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius understood that while pleasure is not inherently bad, its unrestrained pursuit often leads to weakness, dissatisfaction, and even suffering. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures, they advocated for self-discipline, moderation, and the pursuit of meaning as the true path to fulfillment. How the Stoics viewed pleasure. The Stoics did not reject pleasure entirely, but they believed that making it the goal of life was a mistake. Instead, they focused on virtue, self-control, and resilience, arguing that real happiness comes not from indulgence, but from mastery over desires. Epictetus taught that external pleasures are beyond our control, and placing our happiness in them makes us slaves to fortune. True freedom comes from controlling our own minds and not being dictated by cravings. Seneca warned that an unchecked desire for pleasure leads to dependency. He believed that the happiest person is the one who can enjoy life without being ruled by it. Marcus Aurelius, as a Roman emperor, had access to unlimited wealth and indulgence, yet he practiced self-restraint and warned against the corrupting power of excess. He believed that real contentment comes from inner peace, not external pleasures. Hedonic versus eudaimonic happiness. Hedonic happiness focuses on pleasure, comfort, and avoidance of pain. It's about seeking immediate gratification, good food, entertainment, wealth, and sensual pleasures. However, this form of happiness is short-lived and often leads to the hedonic treadmill where more is never enough. Eudaimonic happiness focuses on purpose, self-improvement, and virtue. It's about leading a meaningful life, growing as a person, and contributing to something greater than oneself. Unlike hedonic happiness, which fades quickly, eudaimonic happiness provides lasting fulfillment. Modern psychology supports this idea. Studies show that people who prioritize purpose and self-discipline over pleasure experience greater long-term well-being. The Stoics understood that pleasure is best enjoyed in moderation. Instead of indulging in every desire, they believed in training the mind and body to find joy in simplicity. Self-restraint increases appreciation. When we don't indulge constantly, we learn to truly enjoy simple pleasures. A person who eats sweets all the time finds no excitement in them, while someone who rarely indulges experiences true joy in a single bite. Discipline creates freedom. A person ruled by pleasure is a slave to their cravings. But someone who practices self-control gains true autonomy, no longer dependent on external sources for happiness. Less pleasure, more meaning. By prioritizing growth, wisdom, and virtue, people find deeper, lasting satisfaction that is not dependent on fleeting highs. The Stoics didn't argue for a life of suffering or deprivation. But they knew that self-discipline leads to a stronger, more resilient mind. When we stop chasing endless pleasure and instead cultivate meaning, virtue, and self-control, we don't just avoid suffering, we create a life of deeper happiness and true fulfillment. In a world that constantly tempts us with instant gratification, the ability to delay pleasure has become one of the most powerful skills for achieving long-term fulfillment. While indulging in immediate desires may feel satisfying in the moment, research and philosophy both suggest that postponing pleasure in favor of long-term goals leads to stronger willpower, deeper satisfaction, and greater success. Delayed gratification is the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a more valuable reward in the future. Those who develop this skill tend to have greater self-control, the ability to resist temptations and stay focused on what truly matters. Stronger mental resilience, the capacity to endure short-term discomfort for long-term benefits. Deeper satisfaction, pleasure that comes from accomplishment, personal growth, and meaningful achievements rather than fleeting highs. This concept isn't new. Philosophers like Aristotle, the Stoics, and even Buddhist thinkers all recognize that true happiness comes not from indulging every desire, but from mastering them. Modern psychology confirms what these ancient thinkers already knew. Self-discipline is the key to a fulfilling life. One of the most famous psychological experiments on delayed gratification is the Stanford marshmallow experiment. In this study, young children were given a choice. They could either eat a marshmallow immediately or wait 15 minutes and receive 2 marshmallows instead. Years later, researchers followed up with the participants and found that those who had resisted eating the marshmallow scored higher on standardized tests, had better academic and professional success, maintained healthier relationships, were overall happier and more disciplined in life. The study revealed that willpower is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. People who can delay gratification and resist temptation tend to achieve more in all areas of life, whether in career, health, relationships, or personal growth. Meaning over pleasure, the key to lasting fulfillment. In contrast to hedonic pleasure, which is short-lived and fleeting, true fulfillment comes from pursuing meaning, building something worthwhile, contributing to a greater cause, and striving for personal excellence. Purpose provides direction. Instead of chasing momentary highs, people with a strong sense of purpose stay motivated and resilient in the face of obstacles. Discipline leads to freedom. At first, discipline may seem like a restriction, but in reality, it provides true freedom. The ability to make choices based on long-term values rather than impulsive desires. Sustainable joy. Unlike pleasure, which fades quickly, meaningful accomplishments and personal growth create deep, lasting satisfaction. In a world designed to keep us hooked on quick pleasures, social media, junk food, endless entertainment, learning to delay gratification is a superpower. By shifting our focus from temporary highs to long-term meaning, we not only break free from the cycle of craving, but also unlock a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life. Pleasure isn't the enemy, but chasing it without purpose leads to emptiness. The dopamine trap, hedonic treadmill, and excessive indulgence create a cycle of craving without lasting satisfaction. The Stoics and philosophers taught that real happiness comes from balance, discipline, and meaning, not endless indulgence. The key is to use pleasure wisely, as a byproduct of a meaningful life rather than its main goal. When we focus on growth, purpose, and self-mastery, we experience deeper, more sustainable fulfillment. How can you change your relationship with pleasure today? Practice moderation. Enjoy pleasure, but don't let it rule you. Prioritize meaning. Invest in purpose, relationships, and personal growth. Develop discipline. Strengthen your willpower by delaying gratification. Now I'd love to hear from you. Do you think modern society makes it harder to resist pleasure? How do you balance enjoyment and discipline in your own life? Let me know in the comments.